It seems we have returned for yet another crypto episode because the prices are back up. But I understand a lot of people must be wondering what exactly is going on. Why are prices now bouncing back up? Are they gonna start falling back down over the next few days? And what's our plan? But to start off, one of the more interesting things that happened here was the fact that Bitcoin broke down from its range for the first time in over 4 months, as you can see right here. And as every single one of you saw, altcoins also had a pretty crazy bloodbath that luckily over the past couple of hours has slightly recovered, at least somewhat recovered. Now, specifically the last hour here has been a lot of downwards pressure yet again. For example, taking a look at Bitcoin's most recent price action, you see the price hit as low as $53.5 thousand, and actually went as high as 57.3 just 30 minutes ago or so. Then we saw a little pullback, and for that reason, perhaps some altcoins also have decided to fall over the past hour, or perhaps because they've just gone up too much within a day. But anyway, the most important concern is, will the bull market continue, or is it going to be down only from here? And of course, what else is happening in crypto? Because one crazy thing just happened, and if you've not done it yet, make sure you go ahead and press that like button. So one thing I want to quickly bring up before we talk about the current bull market, etc., is that Celsius is suing people. And the debate came, I think months ago, many months back. One of my friends texted me saying, hey, should I now file a complaint, basically, I think in the app, or do nothing or whatever, against Celsius because they want to pay out a certain value for whatever I lost in the crash, let's call it, in the bankruptcy. But instead, I'd prefer to get my coins back instead of the dollar value, or the opposite way around. So basically, Celsius did everything in the way that works out best for them, but it really works out negatively for customers. People didn't really like that. This is, again, as far as I personally understand it, because people could have now withdrawn more money in the first 90 days after they were declared bankrupt than they actually should be owed. Now, perhaps, right? Perhaps it's actually so that in the bankruptcy, they're only going to get back, for example, 30% or 80% of their funds. This says here, they are attempting to claw back those funds plus more by suing for June 14th, 2024 market rates instead of 2022 rates. And it's kind of funny because one of my friends just said, man, I don't want to get this on my plate. Additionally, because obviously getting sued by Celsius ain't that much fun, but luckily it's thousands of people, so probably it's not going to be too difficult. I personally think this is one of those stupidest moves they could have made, because now, if everybody didn't hate them already, literally every single person in this crypto world will hate Celsius, because this is a dog move. Now, when I say everybody, it's kind of a little bit more iffy-wiffy. At the end of the day, they're trying to claw back funds, partially to pay back other customers, but also for a very large part to pay back all the fees that come with a bankruptcy. And when you're suing 5,000 people, that's a lot of fees. So I guess they're shooting themselves in the foot in a lot of ways, but I guess nothing can be worse with how we are all being shot in the feet than with Germany. Well, let's first of all say, Germany, no, I got nothing to say. Except for the fact that I personally think that the biggest reason Bitcoin and all cryptos really are falling right now is Mt. Gox and the German government selling. The US government also decided to join the fund for a little bit and sell some, but I don't think it really had too much of an effect. For the most part, I think it's Germany and Mt. Gox. Two things I have to add though. One is, there's a lot more where this is coming from. When you're looking at the numbers, they've sold only very little. They've got a lot left. So that's the negative side. Same thing for Mt. Gox. They've started to move funds, but they've literally got the entire tank left to start selling. Now, to counter that real quick, every single day's worth of sales could easily be absorbed by just a good day of Bitcoin ETF volume. Because realistically, the amount that they're selling per day is not that wild. And also, you should keep in mind, for the most part, it's fear they're trying to install into you, because we knew that they had these Bitcoin. We knew they had to get rid of them. We knew that this was going to happen. We kind of knew the dates, at least for Mt. Gox, ever so slightly. So why exactly is this now a surprise that should dump the markets? In theory, this all should have already been priced in, which I still, for the most part, believe. I still, for the most part, believe that people are just very much overreacting. And if you've been on Twitter, you know what I mean. If you've been looking at it for the last couple of days, the amount of people saying that the run is over and we should just come back within a few months is crazy. But it's also warranted. It's also quite logical because that's just the sentiment. And most people on here, they want to go with the flow. They want to go and talk about what's easiest to talk about. And me, when I say, hey, I'm just buying the freaking dip, we're going to go for it, even if I have to lose everything in order to get it. I say it mostly based on my case studies I've shown you, which are if you just keep buying lower, regardless of how low it goes, it might get difficult, mostly mentally, or because you're trying to put more in, but you ain't got none left. But it always has worked out, at least since the start of Bitcoin. And I personally don't think that's going to change anytime soon. If you think it will, you're basically saying Bitcoin is doomed and won't go up anymore. And if that's the case, then there's no question. Short the living crap out of it and make money on that way. I sometimes like to also tell people, you know, right, that most people that were going crazy in 2021 and all this crypto stuff haven't even realized that the bull run is back. And you might argue there's no bull run. I still think there is a bull run because we've gone from whatever price it was back in 2022 at the end to freaking 74,000. There hasn't been a crazy altcoin season yet. There's an altcoin quarter where AI coins and some launches and everything were doing good, but the altcoin season is still out there. It still is not fully here, but probably with the ETF for Ethereum coming up, what, next week or so, it could actually start. And that's, I guess, a nice little outlook that I've got going on. They're trying to manipulate prices down for the most part. And yes, there are a lot of negative factors that are making it logical for the price to move down. But ultimately, nothing about my thesis has changed. And we are, theoretically speaking, in one of the most bullish spots ever. We're getting closer and closer to the peak, where usually it starts peaking after the halving. And we've got these ourselves Ethereum, Solana, ETFs coming up. And by the way, when I say it's not an altcoin season, I mean it, by the way. Give me a second. I'm sorry if my screen was stuck a little bit earlier and you didn't see the Germany thing I was talking about, but I think everybody got the idea. Anyway, what I want to show is this. Some of the worst performers among the new 2024 coins. This is the percentage down from all-time high. You can see that most of the exciting, for the most part, airdrop or like a play a game type of coins are all down like 80 or 90%. Now, first of all, this is what you see in bull markets. Many people don't realize that even in bull markets, many coins go down a lot when Bitcoin drops 30 or so percent. That's one thing. And second of all, oh man, if you're altcoin rich, you're playing a risky game. And I know, I always say, man, you should definitely for a bull market go more for altcoins than for Bitcoin or I guess ETH, even though it's also an altcoin. I will say, most people on the TikTok and those type of platforms will tell you, no, just buy altcoins to make you more money. And it's true. But the part that's not true is you have to time it pretty well. If you time it poorly, you'll lose a lot. And again, guys, I've been making these videos for what, 8 years, maybe 9 years already now? No, it's actually been 8 years. I've been in the crypto space for a long time. And one thing I can tell you is my net worth goes down with such significant numbers every day, but moreover, every year. It's so crazy. One of the most important factors, though, being altcoins. And I know one of the mistakes I made back in time was buying the dip for altcoins that I didn't really believe in. I'll give you one tip now. Don't do that. Buy coins that you actually believe in earlier phases of the bull market, or stick with your Bitcoin, stick with Ethereum. Now in Q1, for example, people got excited, overzealous, amazing, woo, bull market's here. But all the signs were showing, no, we're in one of the earlier phases. We should focus on Bitcoin and ETH. Which coins did best? Yes, some AI coins, yes, some meme coins popped off. But those are outliers. You'll have that everywhere. Even in a bear market, you have outliers that are pumping every single day. Otherwise, why do you think people stick around? In a bear market, some coins do good, and even after a crazy dip, some days you have plus 50% days for many coins. But for the most part, you would have made most money by just buying Bitcoin on average for an altcoin enjoyer. Why am I saying that? Well, not because if you bought the dip of an XRP, for example, you could have potentially made similar sort of gains, let's say a 3x or whatever. No, but I think right now, over the last year, Bitcoin is one of the only ones that's up a very solid amount and above its all-time high, whereas most of those crappier altcoins, yeah, they did a 2x, perhaps a little 3x or so, but they're so far away from their all-time high. And so the better move, in my humble opinion, is first Bitcoin, get it on the way up, and then sell your Bitcoin. Again, kind of controversial, and I think my camera's having some issues. New country, new place. Give me a day to settle in completely. I'm in Japan, for anybody that's wondering. And yes, I've traveled to a lot of countries in the past couple of days. It's pretty crazy. But it's controversial. But sell your Bitcoin, go for altcoins, but only when the time is right. And I'm covering that all the time. And I've been saying the same little story for ever, basically. It's because it's one of the theories I learned way back. And even though I sometimes like to defy it, if I look back now, it is almost always true that the best thing to do is just buy Bitcoin always. It's always fine. But you should get rid of it in really peak bull market times, and you should not focus on altcoins in the earlier parts of a bull run, which are, I guess, November or so of 2022, basically all the way up till now. And there are outliers. Solana, you could have made crazy money, this, that. But that, again, would come from a second basket of your money where you're just buying these conviction altcoins at dips and dips and dips, hoping for that crazy bounce. The only counter to that being, or the negative side being, you might have what I have and lose a ton of money because the coin you decided, yeah, let me try that. Let me see if I can, because it was hot last season, will go to zero, will die out, and you lose all your money. It's happened. Solana, for example, there were a lot of factors showcasing that this wasn't going to be it for the next season. Solana was, right? Look at it now. It's like 15x or so from the bottom. But for every coin that's up there, there's a couple of coins that were hot in 2021 that are nowhere to be seen right now. So just remember that. What comes up must come down, but what comes down doesn't necessarily have to come back up. Again, let me remind you that just what we need is a couple good days of Bitcoin ETFs. Once we get that going, all of this negative downwards pressure from all this German government Mt. Gox, blah, 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 it's all kind of nothing. And think about it as well. Just a couple of good announcements like BlackRock going for Solana, or them saying, yeah, you know what, we really believe in the tokenization on these other platforms besides Ethereum, this, that, or the actual ETF approval can really just spike us in crazy proportions again. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a short-term game. If we look back at, let's see here, 2011, when Mt. Gox was being hacked, we saw the price go from $17 to 1 cent over, let's say a couple of minutes, as people feared that this was over. And look where it is right now, huh? Just to give you an example of conviction. I also, again, will show you 23 billion still up for sales. So a lot is still coming, I guess. And this seems to be the pattern at which they've been selling at. It's a lot. It's a lot. But ultimately, I don't think it's the determining factor to take us to zero. We just got a bit overexcited. Some of the influencers went a bit too crazy with those meme coins. But if you're asking me, where are we going over the next few months? I personally think, like Eric here, Bull posted, the only way is up. He just made a little hopium post. Hopium for the bulls. I don't think this actually plays out, but great for engagement. Magical Lions are here to save the day. And he basically calls for a 92,000 as this broadening wedge here breaks out. Could be interesting. Again, I'm not saying this will happen next. There's definitely some more potential downside, but ultimately for me, the only road is upwards. And yeah, that might be a very freaking steep little, how do you say it? Like a little dip in the freaking little road. But eventually it will come back up, become a freaking hazard for all the people with their old cars, like being in that car, not being able to go up the freaking clutch or the hill, being stuck, you roll backwards. Some people inevitably will roll backwards, but the road is upwards, and that's the only thing I care about. And yeah, I think that's about it for right now.